Recording in progress.
Hello and welcome. This is one of my 60 conversations for my 60th birthday. And today I've got a lady who I have only just met. I don't really know. What is it? Elin Crotty. Is that how you say it? Have I done justice to your name?
Yes, you
We've just had somebody recommended that I speak to Elin, and I always love reaching out to people who I don't know. When someone else has said, I would love to hear a conversation between you two, then I'm guessing that there is something there that we're going to resonate with, and a conversation. So we've just had a couple of minutes to just say hi to each other, and we're just going to dive in and see what comes out here, see what gold happens while we're in this conversation. So welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about you and how we ended up here, what's going on, and let's see where it unfolds from there.
Yes. Hi. So I'm Elin and I'm a coach, and I would love to retell the story that I've just told you about how I ended up here.
Yeah, that was great.
And how when we just go with the flow of life and let us direct us in the way where we're supposed to be going, things happen when they're supposed to happen. So I'm a coach and I've just finished running my course called Hello Me, which is all about an introduction to inner work. And I mentioned to you, is very much back to basics. What do we need? We only need ourselves, pen and paper, and a conversation with another person, usually, to really create shifts in our life. And there was a lady who inquired about the course. She didn't end up going on it, which is fine, but she inquired about it. And we had a few messages back and forward. I didn't know her. She was not a friend on Facebook. I'm not sure how she came across my post in the first place, but she did, because she was meant to. And then that went quiet. And couple of months, I think, after that, I just noticed that she had tagged me in a post, and it was your birthday conversations post, which was really lovely. And so I want to send a big thank you to her for doing that and for putting the two of us together. So that's how I ended up here. Yeah, I hadn't heard of you. You hadn't heard of me. So this is fun. Yeah.
It's great fun. It's great fun. And yeah, it's brilliant. And that's what these conversations are about. Because as I said to you, I am, everything that I do is based on the three principles, but I love many spiritual teachings, and I see they're all pointing to the same thing, and it's like we're all climbing the same mountain, if you like. And we have different paths. And I think there are definitely similarities in many things, and beautiful things to get from different teachings. So it's really, often very interesting to come together, because one of the questions that I did ask you is, are you aware? You're aware of the three principles, but you don't really know what they are. And like you say, when you started talking after that and saying we don't need anything, that to me is exactly what the principles are pointing to. They are talking about who we are, innately, something we have already within us, which points to the fact that we don't need to get stuff from the outside. We just need to discover and they're just words put on something that is within us. So the words don't even matter. It's just a way of saying, yeah, you've already got these things. This is already who you are. You can, go in that direction, and so you don't need to. Anyway, then our conversation went off towards something about lucid dreaming. Are you up for telling us a little bit about that? Because that is
Love to tell you. I'd love to tell you about this, because this is something that we don't often maybe think about. So we spend a third of our lives asleep. And I heard someone say the other day, they said, oh, I spend a third of my life asleep. I need to live when I'm living, because I'm wasting all my life when I'm asleep. And it's no. How can we actually use our sleep to get to know ourselves better? And that's in our dreaming. So lucid dreaming is it's when you're aware in your dream that you are dreaming. So it's like being awake in your dream. And it is a really fun place to be. And I think it says about 1/8 of us do this once a month. When I ask people if they lucid dream, it's usually quite easy. It's usually a dead straight yes or no.
Yeah.
Because people know. If you've been awake in your dream, you know. I don't know. I've not even asked you if you have this experience, Deborah, yourself.
I have had that experience too. And it is really, it's really interesting, because I'm very aware of when I'm not lucid dreaming, it's a dream, and then I might for a short while be aware of that dream when I'm awake, but it's like, yeah, and actually being aware in the dream, oh yeah, this is a dream, I'm actually dreaming this isn't happening in an awakened state, this is a dream. So it's a fascinating, I've never purposely done it, and I don't even know whether you can purposely do it, but I have absolutely been awake in, aware in my dream that it's a dream while it's happening. It's like, oh yeah, this is a dream. And in one sense, to me, it feels very, very similar to, as I get more and more understanding of who I truly am in my awakened state here, it's almost like I am asleep as a spiritual being, my spirituality, and it's like, oh, I'm becoming lucid around that. So it feels like a mirror image of what's going on in my life here. It's like I can either be lost and have forgotten the truth of who I am, and I'm immersed in this dream and it feels really real, or I can be lucid dreaming here in my human thing. And the two things feel the same to me, or very, very similar.
Lucid dream is very, very real in terms of, you feel things, you can feel temperatures, textures. If you fall off something, it will tickle in your tummy, like it would do on a roller coaster. I had one the other day when my friend handed me a drink, and it was a little bit warm. So I was like, I'll go and put some ice in that. And that's how real it is.
Mm.
That's how real it is. And what happens in a lucid dream on a very basic level, and I'm not a brain scientist, but what happens is when you're dreaming, when you're asleep, it's your brain stem and this kind of back part of your brain that's active. However, when you go lucid in your dream, it's cortex, which is active when you're asleep. So your brain actually thinks that you're awake. And why I want to talk about this more and make people more aware of this is it can be very, very powerful, because you can do things in your dream that you might be scared of in real life, or have a conversation, or say things. I said, say your affirmations. But say if you, for example, have a fear of speaking on stage, like, which is a massive one, but it might be something that you really desire to do. It might be part of your manifestations that I want to be a speaker. I want to speak on stage. And when we manifest, we have to already be that person. We have to embrace all the feeling of already being there. If you can dream this and you can confidently step out on a stage and stand on a stage and see the people and feel the lights of the spotlights and say out loud, I'm a great speaker, your brain will think that you have done that in real life. So I can only imagine when you then get to your point of having your manifestation and you standing on the stage, and it might still be a bit scary. I think none of us feel nothing about stepping out on a stage, but your body knows, hey, I've done this before, and that time I was safe. I didn't die. So you've already had a practice run.
Mm.
And there's so many things going on in the research in this area. They're treating people with PTSD, with traumas, because if they can become aware in these dreams that they have, that they're actually that they are dreaming and it's not real, they can embrace it and deal with it differently than to think, waking up with your body sweating and knowing that you just thought you were going to die, or that you've been shot at. But if you can deal with that, knowing that nothing can harm you,
Mm.
you can turn it into a very healing experience. So when you ask me if there's something you can do to lucid dream, now unfortunately, if I had a button, like, I would press that every night. So yes, I want a lucid dream tonight. That would be amazing. There isn't. There are things you can do, and you can train yourself to get better at it. Or if you think that you've never done it, or you can't remember ever having done it, and there are practices to learn. Or, as I've read somewhere and I really like, it's not about learning, it's about remembering.
Mm.
Because most children and people moving through adolescence do this. because there's so much happening and there's so much development going on in their brain. So they do this. I remember the first ones that I can clearly remember is being about 6 or 7. And I know how I learned it, or the way I've always done it. I had terrible nightmares, terrible night terrors as a child. And you know what your grown-up says when you wake up and you've had a bad dream, or what we tell our children. I have 2 children. One of them is now a lucid dreamer, now at 10. What do we tell them when they wake up and they've had a nightmare?
It's not
We
real.
give them a cuddle. It was just a dream.
Mm.
Yeah, it was just a dream. And subconsciously, that goes in. You know, we get trained, and the parents don't know they're training us. We don't know it's happening, but we learn this, oh, it was just a dream, which is exactly what I've done with my son, who now has night terrors, but he can deal with them. And I had to learn in these really scary dreams that it was just a dream. It was just a dream. They can't harm me. I can turn around and face the scary thing instead of, you know, trying to run away and maybe get stuck and not be able to move my legs. So that's where it all started for me. And then it kept going, and especially being a teenager, I did a lot of this. It was like when the world got a bit overwhelming and there was too much drama with friends, etc. I just loved going for a nap, and I could go off to this amazing place where I was completely free.
Mm.
And it stayed with me. I lost it for years when my children were young, because your sleep is a bit all over. So for years, and I remember when I started having a decent night's sleep again, I was like, wow, I've really missed dreaming. But I'd forgotten about it because, you know, you're so busy with the kids and doing everything and making sure you're keeping them alive. So it kind of went, and now it's coming back. So now it's like, yes, I'm going to deep dive back into this because I find this really fascinating. And I feel blessed that I've managed to keep it going throughout my life. But also, you know, how can I tap in even more to this? Because we all after the, you know, the rewire that we hear about. You can rewire your brain, they say. And which you can build your new neurological, I always trip on this word, neurological pathways in your brain. We know the neuroplasticity exists. And what happens is just this switch when you become lucid to the prefrontal cortex means that you engage your neuroplasticity, which means you can train and rebuild while you're asleep. And this is why it fascinates me. And I'm thinking, oh, I need to really do more with this. I'm so keen to spread the word about this because it's so much fun.
Mm.
That is fun.
And to me, it is sounding what I'm hearing, as I said, in everything that you're saying. It's like, to me, we are spiritual beings here in the dream of being human, and our spiritual journey is the learning to lucid dream here. It's kind of like, yes, I am a spiritual being who is asleep to that, and I'm having this dream of being a human being, and yet I have the ability, exactly like you're talking here, I have these snippets, these moments of seeing that, oh my gosh, yeah, this is a dream. I'm okay here. This is actually a dream, and who I truly am is always, always, always okay, you know, just asleep. And I can actually, and what I see my spiritual journey has allowed me to do is, it's like I'm lucid dreaming much more of the time in my humanness. I can do things in my humanness that seemed beyond my capabilities when I just believed myself to be human. But as I am waking up to this idea that I am a sleeping spiritual being having the dream of being human, I can bring in anything that, you know, the whole of the capabilities of who I truly am as a spiritual being to this human experience, to this. And it's truly magical learning. And we see so many similarities and mirrors and these places, and I guess that's kind of why it fascinates us, like when you're talking about it and saying, talking about the possibilities of this. To me, it's like, yeah, we're fascinated by it, and we're fascinated by you know, films and TV and stuff like that, that reflects, you know, when you think of the Matrix and things like this, it's like, yeah, there's kind of a similarity to what's actually going on here, which is kind of what fascinates us about it. And so, yeah, when I'm listening to you, it's kind of, yeah, I'm quite fascinated by that because I see that's what a spiritual awakening is. It's waking up in the dream of being human and then coming from a lucid place moving forward. And exactly like you said, there's not a button that we can kind of, okay, let's press the button and be lucid to my spirituality, my spirit, to the fact that I'm a spiritual being right here, right now. But the more there are ways that we can, and I guess becoming curious, looking in this direction, all of those things wake it up more and more and more in us. And then all of these, I'm actually thinking of, you know, those Russian dolls that have dolls inside dolls inside dolls inside. It's like there are so many
Yeah.
layers and things to it.
I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying. And I think the way it felt like for me and what was a bit of a revelation at one point in all of this ties very much back to what you say, but maybe we're just oh, I can't get it right now, a human having a
We're a spiritual
dream.
being.
What are you saying so good? You say it.
We're having we are a spiritual being having the dream of being human.
Yes. And I love that. So what happened to me was in these dreams that I felt so free. You know, I could say what I wanted, I could do what I wanted. No one could judge me when the moment was finished. When I woke up, that was like that was the world. And now I had to go back into this world where I was feeling judged and everything was a bit heavy and I was worried about I had fears and I was worried about people going to say, you know, all I had all these things. And it's still to a degree. We never, I think, fully get rid of them because we are human. But instead of thinking that this is the real life and this is the real me, what if this one, the free one in my dream, yeah, is the real me? And how do I collapse these two, what felt like separated versions of me,
Mm.
to become the one where I feel free? That what needs to happen? What do I need to let go of? And really become curious in the gap of how do I get here and live a life where I am free and I can do what I want. And I'm not having fears about how people are going to react to what I find exciting and joyful and wanting to do in the moment. So this is where my curiosity is like what's in the gap? What sits there? What needs clearing out for it to become the smooth transition up to this freedom of being? And I've made good impact on the way. I've made a what is it, indent. I'm on my way. But that's what I find really fascinating and curious. And to have, I think sometimes people, you know, they strive to get somewhere, and that's not really what I'm talking about, that I'm going to get somewhere. But knowing what it feels like to be there
Mm.
means that when I go about life, I can connect to that and say, does this feel like I feel like when I'm in this freest version of me? So I can now recognize it in a
Mm.
completely different way than before. And that can be my guide for what decisions I make or what I choose to do. Does it feel like me here? And it's so interesting. And it's also it's not all about pictures. I think people sometimes think about dreams and it's like, where was I? Who was there? What were we doing? And you're left with this kind of movie in your head when you wake up. But there is something that is really powerful that's definitely been the most powerful for me is when we're left with feeling when we wake up.
Mm.
Because you've had these dreams where you wake up and you're like, oh, you feel amazing all day. You're like walking on clouds because that was an amazing dream. And guess what happened to me while I was asleep? And you feel fantastic. And then you can have those. I mean, my nightmares nowadays is about something happening to the children. Because when you become a mum, that's like your main thing. And you can wake up with almost like a guilt. Oh, what was that? But the ones that create those powerful, positive emotions. I mean, having a great lucid dream can last. For me, I can be walking on clouds for like 2, 3 days. I feel so re-energized. So it's not like, oh, we're messing about with our sleep when we should be resting. It's a very re-energizing thing to do. And just to back that up a little bit with science, because everyone loves to know what happens, is, you know, we have, when you look at your brain waves, you know, you have your beta, which is mainly when you're awake. Then they slow down a bit to alpha when you're more relaxed. Then you're in theta when you're drifting off to sleep, and then you move into delta when you're asleep. But the what sits above all of those, what do you say? There was the higher frequency is the gamma. It's the gamma, and gamma we only move into when you're a very, very well practiced meditator. It's a meditator. Yeah, someone who's absolutely fantastic at meditation or in hypnosis. You reach this gamma state, and that's where you can get to in your lucid dreams. So it's a real re-energize instead of messing about with and waking up tired because we interrupted our dreams. So even so, you know, it's healing in that sense as well.
I can definitely see, again, the similarities. I see that when we get into those, the states that, for me, what I am seeing is, I think it used to be that people sat and meditated for hours and hours and hours. And I think, yeah, we can still get there. We can still get to that gamma state through doing that. But for me, what understanding the principles and what Sydney Banks was pointing to, like all of those things that you're talking, they're states of mind. And what I am seeing is all states of mind are always available to us. If that exists, it is available to us. And as human beings, we found a way to do it through meditation, and absolutely. But it's a little bit like, I can't remember, I'll probably completely make a hash of this story, but that, you know, there was so many years where it was scientifically held and everybody said it wasn't possible for us to run a mile in 4 minutes or something like that. That just wasn't a possibility. And then someone did it. And then once it was done, everybody was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is actually, we can do this as human beings. And I know for ages, I was reading something yesterday, and even when there was it wasn't that long ago when there was a belief held, like a general human belief held, that a man could run a marathon, but a woman couldn't. You know, our bodies were different. So running 26 miles, a man could do that, but a woman couldn't. Well, obviously now we laugh in the face of that, you know. that's just simply not true. And I think, you know, all of these things that we are talking about here, yeah, it used to be that only monks or someone like, you know, people living those kinds of lives could reach these higher levels of consciousness, these higher vibrations. And what I'm seeing generally on the planet and generally as human beings, the more that we access, and if we find a way to access that, the more it becomes available to all of us, you know, as normal people in our normal lives. That level is available to us. And what I love about what you're sharing is, the more that we play in these realms, the more that we play, it's like lucid dreaming was potentially a gift that was given to us as a way of seeing this, of seeing that this gamma state is actually, we can move into that. And to me, yeah, like I loved when you were talking about the gap. And to me, when you're describing what you see, hello pussycat, when you're describing what you see in your lucid dreams, the gap, someone actually spoke about this at our conference over the last few days. The gap is a being gap. It's it's who are you? It's cool. Is, you know, it's who are you being? And when we are being a person who can't stand on stage and speak, for example, then to actually do that we have to, the gap that we need to close is a being gap. We have to be someone who can. And like you say, whether it's our imagination, whether it's a lucid dream, whether it's however we do it, it's absolutely available for us to move to a different level and access that and see that and become someone who can. And I just think the more that we talk about the ways, as I said before, you know, the way there are many, many ways up a mountain, and the more that we discuss, different people resonate with different things and it's so gorgeous to have a
Yes.
conversation about the different ways that that can be possible for different people to reach these levels of consciousness. That, and I know there's a man, Michael Neal, I know a lot of my people will know who Michael Neal is. And he
Yeah.
talks about like going up in a lift, and it's like when you're in the basement, you see the basement. When you're on the first floor, you know, if you're in a glass lift, if you like, when you're on the first floor, you see what's available on the first floor. And as you go up and up and up, you just see more. And I really see that in like what you're talking about, the gamma state, any of these, we see what's available from the level of consciousness we live at. And so to me, the more that we discuss ways of how we as human beings can lean into these higher levels of consciousness, can see what we get to see, and then who we get to be from there, is mind-blowing.
Yeah. And it's like, do we listen? But do we listen? Because if I had not been a lucid dreamer, like naturally, or remembered was something that I've kept doing, and someone told me about it, I would have been like, oh yeah, but that sounds a bit tricky, and I don't think I can do that, you know. But it was. I'm so glad I listened when it was there, and it can be. I think if you don't do any self development and you don't see yourself as in any way spiritual, if you like, these things can be, you know, even if they show themselves, they will not listen or receive them. And having been there, being very thinking I was a very non-spiritual person, you know, I worked as an accountant, everything was black and white. It was, everything had to have a rule and it had to be a certain way, and then it was right. So for anything to be floaty, or for me not to have a plan, or come on a call like this with just like, hey, let's see what happens, that wasn't really in my world. So this is one of those lovely things that I've kept showing up to say, yeah, but hey, look, you can do this. You have something. I want to show you what you can be. But for so long, I think I used it. And there's no judgment on this because I just used it for fun, which was fun. But
And fun is great.
it's
Fun is
like
great.
now, yeah, it's like now I'm ready to explore it. And there is something amazing that can happen with it. And I'm not saying this in a way to encourage. I'm a little bit careful with saying this because I don't want to give people like false hope or into it for the wrong reasons. But one of the absolute most beautiful things with lucid dreaming is I get to hug my dead friends. And I don't know how that comes across. And but I want to say just how powerful it is. Like I get to physically hold them and feel them, but it's only from a place of joy. You know, there's no kind of I need them and I need to go back in there so I can meet them. It's not that neediness. It's just they're a beautiful, because there are dream signs, you know, that makes you click into thinking, oh yeah, I'm dreaming. And I have one friend who I've seen a few times who passed away about 5 years ago. And every time I see him, it's like, oh, I'm dreaming. And I always just go up to him and as quickly as I can and just squeeze him for as long as possible until it goes. But it's not a need and it's not a reason for me to dream. It's just one of those amazing things that can happen. So I don't want to you know, some people are stuck in grief, and I don't want them to think of this as be it's coming from a place of just seeing them purely for joy, not for me needing that to go about my life. But there are so many ways and so many opportunities and possibilities for healing in this.
Yeah.
Which is why up until a little while ago, this was just my thing. But I'm like, no, I want to share this. I really want to share this. It came through so strongly. Just share this.
And I guess for me, it is like we resonate, each one of us, we resonate with different things. And it is like, you know, if anyone is listening to this and kind of thinking, oh, lucid dreaming's not for me, then it's not. And that's fine. No, not interested. Absolutely. And if someone else is listening and is like, oh my gosh, you know, oh yeah, I've had an experience of that, I would love to know more about it. And I guess that's true. And I see that across the board with all, you know, everything I share. But it is more like, I had a moment which I call my banana cake moment, and it is, I was
I want to
actually
hear this.
I was actually sat with Beck, who is my PA. We were talking about business. We were having a business meeting in the kitchen, just general, you know, chit chat and what we're going to do next and what's happening. And we'd been sat for a while, and Beck got up and went over to the side on the kitchen, and there was some banana cake there, and she cut herself a slice of banana cake and started to come back to the table. And then she went, oh Deb, do you want some banana cake? And I was like, no, not right now. And she came and sat down, and I had one of those moments, because we were talking about, you know, marketing and talking about our business, and I was like, well, that's all marketing is really, isn't it? I said, you've just nailed it. You just say to someone, got this great banana cake, do you want a slice? And they say yes or no. And it's like, we make it so complicated. And in a way, this is the same. It's like, hey, I do this great thing. I have this thing, lucid dreaming. I think there's something in it. Do you want to know about it, or don't you want to know about it? And it's as simple as, I've got some banana cake. Do you want a slice of banana cake, or don't you want it? And it's absolutely fine. And I can see at a different moment in a different time, I would have wanted that banana cake. I love banana cake. And so it's not, you know, it's just, I wasn't there in that moment. It wasn't what I wanted in that moment. And so we can come back to things. It doesn't, you know, things sometimes resonate with us and sometimes don't. Sometimes I'm hungry, sometimes I'm not. It's like, it's all of it. And for me, these conversations in a way are laying out the banana cake and just sort of saying, hey, you know, there's this thing. And if people are listening and just thinking, nah, absolutely cool. And if people are listening, whoa, yes, please, absolutely cool. But I guess we get into this. I can see early on in the days when I got into my spiritual journey and I began to see things, I definitely went into a space of everybody must know this. And, you know, no exceptions, no, and I knew and they didn't. And if people aren't interested, then we force them to be interested. You know, that evangelical thing.
And we know how hard it is, right, to feed a baby food they don't want. We try, you got to eat this, you got to eat this, it's good for you, it's good for you. And
Yeah.
they just go, and
Exactly.
we don't feel great.
Yeah, exactly that. But it is just that, and definitely these conversations for me are exploring things and seeing, well, what resonates, and we will all resonate with different things. And there are so many, like it's like living in a sweet shop, living in this world that we live in. There are so many beautiful things, and we're not all going to want all of them, and we're not all going to resonate with all of them. But, you know, it's so gorgeous to have so many paths, so much on offer, so many beautiful people sharing from their hearts what they are seeing. So it's like, yeah, bring it on. And I had another lovely lady just a few weeks ago, Grace Kelly, and she shared her experience of her partner dying. And, you know, and now it was a few years ago, but he is now her, definitely, he's a part of her spiritual team. You know, she speaks to him, she asks him for things, and invariably when she asks him for things, these things show up. So, you know, talking about, and physically being able to touch someone in a dream, that's incredibly special. And I genuinely do believe we're all energy, and energy doesn't go anywhere. It just shifts and changes. You know, we don't, the energy of anyone we have ever known is still in existence. So the possibility of a connection, a possibility, absolutely exists. And to me, again, this is in my human journey, if the more that I can tap into this greater part of me that is in the non-physical, these things open up more and more and more, and I see ways and means of connecting to all of who I am and all of this. Yeah, so
Yeah, and I think there's a real courage in people, you know, to believe what hasn't been scientifically proven, because there's often such a call out for, you know, well, you can't prove it and you can't prove that. Like, I know myself that things happen to me that are just bonkers, but they fall into place and I've wanted them, you know, and I can't explain how, but they did. But I think believing in, I mean, it's the lucid dreaming, for example, it does go back to Tibetan monks. It's been huge for thousands of years. Now, we in the Western world, it was scientifically proven about 50 years ago. I think it's 50 years ago next year. So that'll be something to celebrate. But again, only then was it more acceptable to talk about.
yeah.
But we all know it's there and we do it. So how can it not exist? And I think it's the same thing with the lady and her husband. And it takes courage, and it takes courage to be the one to say, but hey, I believe these things, even though they can't be proven.
Mm.
I
And very,
believe
very
because
often,
I know it works for me.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it is an inner knowing, isn't it? And
Mm.
once you begin to see things, it becomes, I mean, there is definitely faith and trust, but we stop needing those things when we know. It's like, yeah, I know this is how it works. And a part of the way that I play in the world, it's like, I know this works in this way and this way and this way. So if I know that over here, it can't be any different. So let's play in this realm and see what can be created here from what I know to be true. And I love playing that game. Absolutely. That was like,
It's so good when we're wrong, isn't it, as well? It's so good when we
oh,
get
we learn.
proven. Yeah, I love that. It's nothing wrong with, oh my God, I can't believe I thought that wasn't possible. And now it's
Mm.
proven that it is. And I kept saying to people that no, that can't be done. And now it's been done. It's like, wow, amazing. I was wrong. Please, can I be wrong more often? You know, because that's really good for growth. And it's again, it's quite funny. And there's no need to defend as well. I like that. So there's no need to prove, there's no need to defend. It's just such a free way of being.
Yeah, to me, it is very much just about being playful, being in the moment, and being playful, which is just, yeah, it's such great fun to come at life with that energy.
Well, people feel that. People definitely feel that. And you feel when you're in conversation with someone and there is just this curiousness of, I love what you're saying. Let me hear this in my way. Can it be like this? And you do this dance of conversation and you just end up in all these miraculous little places that you never knew you were going to end up in. Like we didn't know what we were going to end up
Absolutely.
talking about today. And we've had this lovely conversation.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, it's been really beautiful. So if people want to know more about you, to find out more about what you're up to, where is the best place for people to find you?
and Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Just search on my name, you'll find me.
Okay.
My website is nearly ready for the second time. See, um, so that will be when it's ready, it will also just be my name. It will be
Okay.
elincrotty.com, but it's not launched yet. But Facebook, Elin Crotty, or on Instagram, I'm Elin Crotty Coach, because someone already had my name, which was unexpected. But so those are the best ways. And just send me a message. I'm always up for a conversation. Or if anyone wants to know more, if anything I've talked about, I am in the TUC group, if anyone's in that, if that's okay for me to say.
Oh,
I am
absolutely.
doing a free session next week on lucid dreaming and the document for anyone who's interested.
So the TUC is the ultimate coach. If anyone wants to go and find that, you can find that on Facebook easily enough, and obviously reach out to me if you want to know what that is. Absolutely. Well,
Document specific, that's aimed towards the document rather than a general. But if anyone has a document and know what I'm talking about right now, then there will be a little session on that next week that everyone's welcome to join. Absolutely free, no commitment, nothing.
Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing. And will that be on then put onto the YouTube channel? Because there is the Ultimate Coach, there is a YouTube channel for that too. Will that be on that YouTube channel, do you expect?
No, I don't think so. It's not part of the TUC official thing. Like
Okay.
the little thing that I'm doing, I'm saying, hey, if you want to work a bit more on your document and you want to approach it in a different way and try and get it to be even more powerful, then let me serve you in this way.
Okay.
Were you in the group who's interested? So that's how it will be run. I'm not running it as an official thing, but I also didn't want, it's not absolutely not a salesy thing. It's just like, hey, I think this could be powerful for people, so I've got to share this. That's where it's coming from. And then if you want to go off and never see me again, that's totally fine.
Cool. Okay. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So thank you so much for our lovely conversation. Thank you.